Good morning, INTERWEB. Let's world build. A, E, I, O, and U. The 5 English vowels, right? Yeah, not even close. For one thing, these are letters, not sounds. Pedantic perhaps, but it's worth remembering that speech and writing are two totally unrelated ideas. Okay, but the actual sounds A, E, I, O, and U are vowels, surely. Not really. E is the only one here that can be called a vowel in the truest sense, a pure vowel, aka a monophthong. The rest are diphthongs, 2 vowel sounds combined. A diphthong is made up of 3 parts, the onset, glide, and offset. So when I say A, I start by saying A and seamlessly glide up to finish on an I sound. A. Same goes for I. Start on an A and glide up to an I. I. O is a combination of O and O. O. So just like this isn't a grape and this isn't yellow, these aren't vowels. Speaking of yellow, if we take the initial Y sound in yellow and glide up to an oo, we get Y, oo, U. This guy is so unvowel-like, it's even pronounced with a consonant. Sorta. Next problem is the idea that there are only 5 vowels in English. The actual number of vowel sounds in English is kind of indeterminate. It all depends on where you're from. RP speakers use about 12 monophthongs, 8 diphthongs, and about 5 thriphthongs. And you guessed it, thriphthongs are 3 vowel sounds combined, like in the British pronunciation of our. Which makes me wonder, is there such thing as a quiphthong? Or a pentathong? Who knows? Language is trippy stuff. Anyways, general American vowels are broken down like this, and Australian English vowels like that. In all cases, way more than 5. My dialect of Irish English apparently uses the following: A as in trap, A as in bath, O as in lot, O as in dog, a long O as in bought, E as in dress, as in syrup, I as in hit, E as in beam, as in flood, which is a sound kind of between here and here, O as in book, and oo as in food. And the diphthongs are O as in no, I as in high, A as in way, although a lot of Irish speakers monophthongize A and replace it with an E. So words like gave and came become gev and kem. And then there's ow as in cow and oi as in boys. This chart, by the way, is the official IPA vowel chart depicting the 28 distinct vowel sounds used in human language. And I mean this in the best possible way when I say it's one big massive lie. See, language buffs will commonly say that vowels vary in 3 very important ways: height, backness, and rounding. Up and down on the chart represent height, that is how high or low your tongue is when producing a vowel. Compare the E in beam with the A in add. E-ya. High tongue to low tongue. Left to right on the chart represents backness, how far forward or back the tongue is. Again, compare the E in beam, but this time with the oo in food. E-u. Forward tongue to retracted tongue. The final vowel feature, rounding, somewhat unsurprisingly, tells us whether the lips are rounded or not. Unrounded sounds like E are on the left side of the lines. Rounded sounds like oo are on the right. E-u. So if we start at E and go E, A, O, U, E, our tongue essentially traces out the shape of the graph. Try it. E, A, O, U, E. Seems pretty airtight, right? Early phoneticians thought so too. They were all like, bro, we got this vowel biz down, yo. And they did have it down, just not in the way they thought. Turns out vowel production has little to do with tongue articulation and a lot to do with the quasi-voodoo witchcraft that is formant frequencies. Here's the spectrograph, a sort of voice print of me saying E and oo. The brighter the colour, the more pronounced the frequencies are at a given range. E is E not because I have my tongue in a certain position, but because it has a very particular frequency fingerprint. Same goes for oo and any other vowel sound. But imagine trying to teach this to people. Okay, so for this sound, just increase the amplitude of the frequencies coming out of your food hole at 270 Hz and 2300 Hz. Insta fail. Ergo, we stick to the chart of white lies and half-truths. It's easier to teach, more intuitive. The cool thing about frequencies is that with practice you can learn to isolate and amplify certain ones, which, while singing, allows you to sing 2 notes at the same time, a practice known as overtone singing. My best attempt at this sounds like... Alas, a Tuvan throat singer I am not. This guy, however, is, and he is awesome. And the tomb is strong with this lad too. Okay, so vowels are weird, but surely we can all agree that regardless of how they're produced, they always sound the same. E will always be E, A will always be A, etc. See, we can't say that for certain either. If we think of this as being the E-iest sound a human can produce, we find that the French E, as in fantastique, goes somewhere here, very high and very fronted. But the German E, as in viel, goes here, less fronted and less high. And the English E, as in beam, less so again. The exact pitching of a vowel will depend on what language is being spoken. Speaking of different languages, let's break away from English for a bit. Last heard in 1992, Ubykh is an extinct language once spoken on the eastern shores of the Black Sea. It had the largest non-click consonant inventory, some 80 odd consonants, and also holds a record for the language with the fewest vowels, just 2, and A. On the other hand, the Barnaric languages of Laos, Cambodia and Vietnam are famous for having just like all the vowels, with the record possibly going to Sedang, which has, depending on how you're counting, up to 55 different vowel-like sounds. Hold on a sec. 55? How is that possible, given that the IPA only recognises 28 distinct vowel sounds? Well, there's more to vowels than just pronouncing them plainly as they come out of the box. We can add variation by lengthening and shortening sounds. This kind of thing doesn't really happen in English, but it does occur in Japanese, and it can be argued that Estonian has 3 degrees of vowel length: short, long, and overlong. Imagine a word like hat becoming hat, hat, hat. Outside of length, we have nasalization, so a sound like a could become ah, like the French ah in song. What else could we use? A creaky voice? Ah. Or a breathy voice? Ah. Or we could simply devoice altogether. Ah. Basically a whisper. May seem useless, but devoiced vowels crop up in languages like Japanese, particularly when E or U is sandwiched in between 2 voiceless consonants, which makes me look at the word sushi in a whole new light. But hey, when it comes to vowel variation, it really is all about one thing: tone. Tones are often described on a 5-point scale, high to low. In Mandarin, for example, you can have shi, 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 which, if pronounced correctly, translates as the story of Shi eating lions. A 92-character long Chinese poem comprised solely of the word shi and its tonal variations. Kind of like a more elaborate version of the one-word sentences we find in English. Buffalo, 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 buffalo. Or the somewhat less famous James, while John had a better effect on the teacher. But to be fair, with classics like Tsi, 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 aka the nephew who treats hemorrhoids, Mandarin is, without a doubt, the undisputed king of one-word prose. Interesting side note, given that tonal languages, for the most part, have 5 degrees of tone and at most 2 inflections, it's theoretically possible to distinguish up to 125 different tonal contours. So in theory, using nothing but tone, we could get up to 125 variations on a single vowel sound. And combining tone with length, nasalization and voicing, amongst others, takes that number up into the several hundreds. Now, of course, no actual language would do this. It's hard to derive any sort of meaning if everything sounds somewhat similar. Like how painting with all the colours results in a visual mess, speaking with all the sounds results in an oral mess, and allowing untrained family members to perform delicate medical operations results in, well, you get the idea. Good morning, INTERWEB. So seeing as I can't seem to write scripts in any sort of decent time frame these days, this will likely be the last video before Christmas. So I just want to take the opportunity to wish all you guys a very happy Christmas, a very happy New Year, and all the best in 2016. It's the least I could do, because you continue to watch my videos and this makes me feel happy. I want to pass on the happiness. Also, I want to apologise to speakers of French, British English and Mandarin because I butchered your languages in this video. I'm really sorry. I tried to learn your sounds. They were very difficult and I don't think I managed it very well. But speaking of languages, this is the last IPA video. So the next linguistics video will be an actual language construction video. I'll start building my own language. And if you're new to Artifexian and that sounds like a really cool idea, consider subscribing below. And if you're already subscribed, hang in there. I will do my best to get these scripts out in some sort of timely fashion. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Edgar out.